to another inspiration from Ken Park at Fallingbrook Heights Baptist Church at the Center. Here's Ken.
There was once a great prince from a massive kingdom. He concealed his glory and he moved to a foreign land. He took on the nature of a lowly peasant farmer and had a small group of hired help to work with him. After a number of years, he got the word that he would be crowned king. So he gathered his shepherd and his crop manager, his vine dresser and his cowboy. And he said to them, I need to return home for a long time, but will return with great authority and wealth. Please care for my sheep, my land, my vines, the horses and cattle. And then he left. And the shepherd worked hard, and even though there was disease and wild animals attack, he grew the flock from 100 to 200. And the crop manager planted the crop in season, and he removed thorns and stones, worked with drought and storm. But over time, the fields grew from 500 acres to 750 acres. The vine dresser thought the prince was stingy and hard to please. So he didn't change the vines, he didn't trim or cultivate, in fear that he would displease the farmer. And the vines grew tangled and didn't produce any additional grapes or wine. The cowboy rode the horses and let the cattle run free and spent a lot of time away from the farm. He thought the farmer would never return and did not believe that there was any wealth elsewhere. But the farmer, the king, returned to his land. In all his glory, with all of his attendants, he called in the shepherd and the crop manager and the vine dresser and the cowboy to tell him how things had gone, how his farm was. Cowboy with swagger and pomp rode up without removing his hat, and he replied, after all this time, the horses and the cattle are mine. You left them. I'm claiming my rights. The king's attendants swiftly removed the cowboy and took him to the barn. The vine dresser groveled in the dust and told the king that he thought that the king was stingy and hard to please, so he had just kept the vines from dying. The king removed the vine dresser from the property and gave the vines to someone else to manage. The crop manager approached the farmer king and, bowing in respect, said, "Thank you for the opportunity to care for this land. It's grown from 500 to 750 acres." The shepherd as well humbly responded to the king's questions and reported the doubling of the flock. The king thought about what they had reported. With a great smile on his face in satisfaction, he said, "Well done, good and faithful servants. You've been faithful in a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come, let's eat, drink, and be happy and celebrate the work that you've done." Jesus told a story like this in two forms, in Matthew 25 and Luke 19. In some Bibles, they're called the parable of the talents or the parable of the 10 minas. It's a parable about himself. He is the concealed prince. We are the farm workers. And the sheep and the land and the vines and the cattle and the gifts are gifts and talents and opportunities he's given us. This parable, in which Jesus' telling was in the sphere of business, we can learn a lot through, especially during this Holy Week. Meditating on it helps us to understand the grandeur of life, for the parable itself encompasses all of life, even life we've not yet lived. It's brilliant, and it helps us find our identity, our responsibility, and our finality. So let me today draw 5 conclusions about Jesus and 5 conclusions about us. Number 1, what is Jesus saying about himself? Well, number 1, he was saying that he was the concealed king. He's still partly concealed to us because he hasn't yet exercised his full power. He is the Lord of a distant country. You can read about that in the New Testament. Number 2, everything is His, and He determines to whom it's given. Number 3, He requires an accounting of life, which in Jesus' parable and even in our day, the doubling of what's given to us is not exceptional growth. He's merciful and He's kind. But He does require an accounting of what He's given us. Number 4, He has vast wealth. And this life is very small things compared to what His glory is. And number 5, He is coming back. Though, when Jesus told the parables, after a long time. What is Jesus saying about you and I? Well, number 1, your life, though freely given to you, exists within God's universe. Number 2, your wealth and talent and possessions are on loan to be developed, to be used, to be invested. We're stewards. Number 3, you will have a day of accounting in which God celebrates with you what you've done. As I was thinking about this parable, I was thinking it's like show and tell before God. When He asks us about our life, takes interest in what we've done. Number 4, your life is way too precious to waste. Invested into His priorities, His goodness, His mercy, and His love. That's the crop He's looking for. That's the fruit of the Spirit, read in Galatians. Number 5, you will be rewarded. Well done, good and faithful. Come share in the Master's happiness. As you think about these things and the parable of the talents, the 10 minas, I want you to think of 3 things you could do today. Perhaps you haven't done them just yet, so think about your tax returns. With your tax returns, think about this. What did you pay in taxes when you were 10 years old? What did you pay in taxes this year? And what will you pay in taxes in 100 years' time? Second area, your net worth statement. Your value of your assets minus your debts. What was that net worth statement when you were 10 years old? What's that net worth statement today? What will that net worth statement be in 100 years? Thirdly, relationships. Best friends, church mates, family, neighbors. At 10, what was the dynamic of your relationships? Today, what's your relationship dynamic with others? And in 100 years' time, what will relationships be like for you? And then ask yourself the question, if you look through these 3 things, your relationships, your net worth statement, your tax return, and think about this way of evaluating your life, where will you invest today? Or where will you invest for 10 years from now? How will you invest for eternity? May God bless you today as you think about the investment of your life, which God takes as great worth, into His kingdom.
Thanks for listening to this inspiration from Ken Park. For more information, visit our website, churchatthecenter.com. God bless.